Narrator. The most clever heist in modern history isn't happening at banks. It's happening in your kitchen, your bathroom, and your grocery cart. And the people pulling it off? They're counting on you never doing the math. Narrator. Because if you actually calculated what's happening per ounce, you'd realize something that would make your blood boil. We'll get to that number in a moment. Narrator. But first, let me ask you something. Have you noticed your cereal box feels lighter? That your chip bag seems to have more air than ever? That your favorite peanut butter jar has a suspicious dent in the bottom? Narrator. You're not imagining things. It's called shrinkflation, and it's not new. But what is new is the scale of it. Because according to recent data, some of your favorite brands have quietly shrunk their products by up to 20%, while keeping the price exactly the same. Narrator. Think about that for a second. Narrator. That's like paying for a gallon of gas but only getting 3/4 of a gallon pumped into your tank. Except the gas station redesigns the pump so you don't notice. Narrator. Now here's where it gets really infuriating. And I'm going to show you the per ounce test that these companies genuinely hope you never run. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Narrator. But before we do that math, you need to understand why this is happening now more than ever. And the answer isn't just corporate greed. That's too simple. Narrator. The real answer involves a perfect storm of inflation psychology, social media, and something called price elasticity of demand. And understanding it might actually change how you shop forever. Narrator. Okay, let's rewind to 2020. Narrator. Supply chains break down. Ingredients get more expensive. Labor costs skyrocket. Fuel prices jump. Companies are facing a choice. They can either raise the price on the shelf or they can shrink the product. Narrator. Here's what they know about you. And this is backed by decades of consumer psychology research. You, me, everyone. We are hyper-aware of sticker prices. We can tell you exactly what we paid for a loaf of bread last week, but we have absolutely no idea how many ounces were in that loaf. Narrator. A study from the Journal of Consumer Research found that most shoppers can recall the price of an item they buy regularly within 5% accuracy. But when asked about the weight or volume, they're off by 30% or more. Narrator. Companies know this. They've studied it. They've built entire pricing strategies around it. Narrator. So when costs went up, they made a calculated bet. Keep the price at $3.99 because that's what your brain expects. Just give you 20% less product. Your brain won't register it. Narrator. And here's the thing. For the most part, they were right. Narrator. But let's talk about the per ounce test. Because this is where shrinkflation becomes not just sneaky, but actually staggering when you do the math. Narrator. Let's say you buy a bag of your favorite coffee. It used to be 16 ounces for $8. That's 50 cents per ounce. Now the bag looks the same, the price is still $8. But inside, it's 12.8 ounces. Narrator. That's $8 divided by 12.8 ounces, which equals about 62.5 cents per ounce. Narrator. That's a 25% price increase that you never saw, because the sticker never changed. Narrator. Now multiply that across every product in your cart. The cereal, the toothpaste, the detergent, the yogurt, the toilet paper. Over a year, the average household is spending hundreds of dollars more for significantly less product. Narrator. And it's not just a few rogue companies. This is an industry-wide practice. Let me walk you through some of the most documented examples. Narrator. A major cereal brand reduced their family-size box from 19.3 ounces to 18.8 ounces. Same price. A popular ice cream brand went from 1.75 quarts to 1.5 quarts. A well-known juice company shrank their bottle from 64 ounces to 59 ounces. A famous cookie brand went from 30 cookies per pack to 27. Narrator. Each one seems small. That's the whole point. But here's what happens when you add it all up. Narrator. If a company reduces a product by 20%, they've effectively raised the price by 25%. That's just math. And they did it without a single customer complaint, without a single review saying, this is too expensive now, because the price tag never moved. Narrator. Now here's something that might make this even more frustrating. Some companies aren't just shrinking the product. They're also changing the packaging to hide the shrinkage. Narrator. They'll make the logo bigger. Add a new look banner. Create a wider label that covers more of the container so you can't see how much is inside. They'll add a dimple to the bottom of a jar. Make a bag taller but narrower so it looks the same size on the shelf. Narrator. This isn't accidental. These are deliberate design choices meant to exploit your visual perception. Narrator. There's actually a term for this in the packaging industry. It's called non-transparent container design. And entire consulting firms exist to help companies reduce product size while maintaining the illusion of the same volume. Narrator. Now let's talk about why now is different. Because shrinkflation has existed for decades. But something shifted after 2020 that made it go into overdrive. Narrator. 2 words. Social media. Narrator. Brands are terrified of price increases going viral. A TikTok showing a price tag jumping from $4.99 to $6.99, that gets millions of views. That creates backlash. That hurts the brand. Narrator. But a TikTok showing a bottle that's 1 ounce smaller, most people scroll right past that, if they even notice it at all. Narrator. So companies are making a rational economic calculation. It's safer to shrink than to raise prices. Because the social media backlash is asymmetric. Narrator. Now you might be wondering, is this even legal? Can they just do this? Narrator. The short answer is yes. As long as the weight or volume is accurately listed somewhere on the package, companies are generally within their rights to change the amount of product they sell at any given price. Narrator. That tiny net weight in the bottom corner of the package, that's their legal cover. Narrator. But here's where consumer advocacy groups are starting to push back. They argue that when companies actively design packaging to disguise shrinkage, that crosses a line from pricing strategy into deception. Narrator. Some countries are actually starting to act. South Korea requires companies to notify consumers when product sizes change. Brazil has similar regulations, but in the US and much of Europe, it's still largely unregulated. Narrator. So what can you actually do about this? Because knowledge is one thing, but application is another. Narrator. Here's your practical playbook. And this is the part I promised you earlier. Narrator. Step 1. Start thinking in cost per unit, not cost per package. Every grocery store is required to show unit pricing on the shelf tag. That's the price per ounce, per pound, per liter. That number is your best friend. Narrator. Step 2. When a product you buy regularly gets a new look, be suspicious. Check the net weight against what you remember. Better yet, keep a note on your phone with the sizes of your top 10 products. Narrator. Step 3. Consider store brands. And I know that sounds basic, but here's why it matters in this context. Store brands have less brand equity to protect. They're more likely to raise prices transparently than to shrink products secretly, because they're not trying to maintain a premium image. Narrator. Step 4. Buy in bulk when it makes sense. Bulk packaging tends to shrink less frequently because the value proposition is already about volume, and bulk buyers are more price-sensitive per ounce. Narrator. And step 5, the most powerful one, simply be aware, because the entire strategy relies on you not paying attention. Narrator. The moment you start checking net weights, comparing unit prices, and tracking changes over time, you break the system they've built to exploit you. Narrator. Let me leave you with this thought. When a company shrinks a product by 20% and keeps the price flat, they're not just charging you more. They're making a bet. They're betting that you won't notice, that you won't do